Hello, my crafty friends. It's Michelle, the Southern Shell, and I am here today to share with you how I create my basic journal base. Now, I have created journals from just using my own bindings, but this is an easy way to take a composition book and just create a journal to get started. Now, what I do first is you see I'm just using some school glue here, and I am actually just going to glue 2 pages together. Turn, put glue on that second page, all around the edges, and then down through the center. And then once I get that glue on there, I'm going to fold it on over and I'm going to use a little spatula there, a little scraper, and I'm just going to rub all that down so that glue and those papers are connected. I do this throughout the whole composition book, and this is going to give me a stronger page for my journal, my art journaling. So this is going to be my scripture art journal. And so what I did is after I had all those pages glued together, I used some of those binder clips to squeeze that book closed. And there you have it. I went ahead and picked out some papers that I wanted to go ahead and cover this with. And this is Tim Holtz. I have some double-sided strong adhesive tape there. I have the paper I've chosen. I have my scoreboard. And now I'm going to pick out some pages to fit over this comp book. First thing I want to do is measure it, and this is going to be about 7.5 by 9.5. And you want to make sure that the 9.5 and the 7.5, you want it to be longer by about a ½ inch per side. So the 9.5 is going to be 10.5, and the 7.5 will be 8.5. So I'm just going to leave the width at the 12 because it is a 12 by 12 sheet of card. This is a thick card. Tim Holtz is a very good product. I've had this paper pack for a long time. So I just picked out a couple sheets that I wanted to put on the cover of my journal here. So I'm going to lay my card on here, and I should be using a bone folder, but I have this pencil, and all I did was make sure the lead was up inside. I'm going to score at a ½ inch, and then I'm going to score at the 8.5 right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and just kind of give that a roll. Use your hands, the warmth of your hands to help just manipulate that paper just a little bit. And as you see, I'm just working with my fingers here very gently. And this is going to help stop any tearing in that card. You warm it, you work it, the oils of your hands, it helps to break down those fibers just enough so that you can manipulate this card without it tearing. Because if you tend to fold thick card or thick paper, sometimes it will tear along those seams that you're trying to bend on. And so just work your hands over that paper to help warm it and break those fibers down just enough so it's not going to tear as you manipulate this to cover your book. So I'm doing a ½ inch all the way around for the book cover. And then once again, I'm just using my hands and my fingers to roll it up just a little bit and just before I fold it all the way over. Now I'm going to go ahead and just cut the corners out just a little bit so that I'll be able just to pull those off when I get it wrapped around my book. I am now going to go ahead and find my tape. I want to make sure that's going to fit in there good. You want to make sure that your measurements are good before you do all your folds because it's really hard to get those creases out once you use a scoreboard to score your card. Here I'm just using my fingers once again, warming it to go up and over. I'm going to snip right there where it's going to fold over the edge because I can't tuck that up into where my papers are going to be. Now, put my hand through the hole, and I'm now using my hand like a tape dispenser. And this is the easiest way I've found to actually go ahead and use some of this tear and tape. And this is a permanent adhesive double-sided tape. They have them in several different sizes. I like using tape more than I do the glue. I do like art glitter glue if I'm going to use paper and do paper stuff. It dries so fast and I don't have any issues with it. But I went ahead and used my tape on this. If you aren't real sure about your placements and your tape, what I would recommend you do is add some glue over the top of your tape before you fold it. And that will help give you a little bit of time to manipulate, because once that tape is down, it is down. It is not going to come back up. So you want to make sure that you're right where you need to be. Here I'm just cutting and manipulating the piece for the back part of my book the same way I did the front, using the same measurements and just folding up and creasing that so it can just fold down nicely along that edge. Now, because the back cover, I just want it to match that little area of the book, so I'm just going to slide it there. And I hate covering that flower, but I think that this works out really nice. It definitely gives a good coverage on the back of this composition book. I'm just going to go ahead and score down where I need this to be. I can cut it off. I don't need to have all that extra on there, so I am just going to come in and cut right along that score line. That just gives me a straight line to cut on, because I can't cut a straight line to save my life. I do need a guide. So it's good for me to come in and just use my scoreboard as a guide to where I need to cut. Once again, my hand goes through the roll of tape, and I use my thumb and my index finger to pull down on that tape and hold it into place. A great way to tear this off, if you're, I mean, I'm just using my fingers, which works fine, but if you want a more even tear across, use a stamp block. One of those acrylic stamp blocks makes a wonderful guide for tearing that tape as well. But as you can see here, a tearing tape like that works just fine, just putting your finger down and tearing across your fingernail. So now I'm just going to lay this down on the back of my book for the back cover. I want to make sure I get that all covered up nicely with my tape. And so I'm going to line all the edges, and then I'm going to put a couple down the center of this back piece for my journal to help secure that down onto my composition book. I'm going to make sure I'm scored right where I need to be and fold it right on up and over. And that way I know that my book is going to be covered nicely. Now I'm going to come in and I'm actually going to cut these corners. Now you're going to cut at an angle, kind of like you would a dovetail on a ribbon. Cut at an angle in right there. And that's going to, when it folds up and closes over your book, it's going to, those corners are going to meet up. The angles are going to meet nicely on your book. Using some more tape just down the center here. I'm using the last of my rolls here, so I'm like, okay. So I had to open a new pack. And this was much thinner. This was probably, oh my goodness, I can't even, it's not even a 1/4 inch. It's like, you can see how little that is. And so this is not the best to actually adhere down a book cover because it's so thin. It's great for other things, for smaller, which, you know, if you have a smaller edge that you're taping down, it's good. It's just what I had left. And so I'm just trying to use what I have in my stash here. And let's go ahead and get all of these tape backings pulled off. You can see those come off real easy. I'm going to line it up towards the bottom here, and then just use my little spatula there to scrape it on down and make sure that that tape is adhered. I'm burnishing it to the inside of my book. And now that you can see that tape, just that cover just comes right on off of there. I also have an ATC, the tape runner, and that works wonderful too. You do want to make sure you get the stronger tape if you're going to use that, the permanent adhesive, because you can get it in a lighter tape runner. But I really like the score tape, like this here, the Terran tape, score tape. This stuff is great. It just is really great. So I'm just going to burnish all that down, and I'm going to just make sure I can work that edge on over. So now I went ahead and went into my ribbon stash, and I found this really pretty brown ribbon. I've used that on my gingerbread in the past. And I found some nice yellow ribbon. And I'm going to use my Titebond Quick and Thick to actually glue this ribbon down. You can use your tape if you want, but because of the cloth ribbon, the Titebond Quick and Thick is actually going to be the best option for me right here. It does really well on the paper, and it does really well with the fabric ribbon. So I'm just lining it right up along that edge there because I want to cover that seam where those papers come together. And I'm just going to cut me off a long strip here, and this is going to be my bookmark. And I'm going to take my little lighter, and I'm going to just melt those edges of that ribbon just a little bit. Now I can come in and I can lay it down there at the bottom. Sorry, it's off screen, but you see all I'm doing there is laying it across that binding of this composition book. And then once that's down there, I'm just rubbing it in to help that ribbon just get placement and make sure it's all nice and straight because it has that stitching on there too. So if it's cockeyed or crooked, it's your stitching is going to look a little off. And I'm a little, it's where my OCD comes in a little bit. It's like make it straight, make it straight. So now I have the yellow ribbon, and this is what I'm going to use to actually tie my book closed. I haven't done the inside of the book yet because I'm going to put my ribbon down first, and then I will cover where that ribbon is attached to the inside of the composition book. So now I can open it up, and I'm going to go ahead and take one piece of my ribbon, cut it at a dovetail, come in with my lighter and just melt the end of that just a little bit. You don't want it to catch fire. You don't want it to have a charcoal in on your ribbon either. You want to make sure that it looks nice. At least for me, I do. So what I did now is I just opened one side of the book and used my Titebond Quick and Thick once again. And I can use those lines right there that it has where you can add any of your schedules. And I'm just going to put the glue right along that line and lay my ribbon right in that. And that way I know my ribbon is coming out nice and straight, and I don't have to worry about it, being off to one side. I want it to come out straight for my book. Once I get that on there, I'm just going to lay that card over the top of it right now so that I don't have to worry about any glue seepage onto the other pages. So now I'm just going to add some of that glue onto the ribbon, and I'm going to lay it on the inside of my cover there, on the inside of the back cover, to come out evenly with the ribbon on the front cover. And that's all I need to do, and push it down. Now I know it's even and it's straight, and I don't have to worry about them not matching up. Coming in, I'm burnishing that down with my little spatula, and now I can remove my little card. And now the ribbon is in there. I'm going to let it fully dry. I'm not going to pull on it or anything, but you can see here it's in there, it's even. And now I'm going to put a cover on the inside of this journal. And so because it is the 7.5 by 9.5, I'm actually going to take a 1/4 inch off. So it's going to be 7.25 by 9.25. And I wanted to pick out some pretty papers for the inside. And I liked those birds right there. I thought that would be really pretty on the inside cover of the front. And so I'm going to pull that one out. And then I'm going to use another sheet with the bird cages for the back side of the inside cover. So let's go ahead and get these cut down and ready to go inside our book. Once I had them cut down, I came in with some Tim Holtz Vintage Photo in distressed ink, and I'm just distressing the edges along the front inside cover for my journal. And it's just enough to knock back the clean cut lines of where I cut the image out on this paper. And that does not take much, just buff it on out on the sides there, and let's get that. So because the tape that I have was so thin, it would take many little strips to get the adhesion that I would want on the inside cover. So I'm just using some Titebond Quick and Thick, and you see I'm not putting a thick coverage on there, just enough to lay across that paper. Once I get this laid on the inside cover, I'm going to make sure it's even on the corners there, and I'm going to come in with my little spatula and rub it out. I want this to make sure that all that glue is pushed out to the edges, and I won't have any place where that image is coming up. Now on the back side, I'm doing the same thing. I'm going to lay one piece on the inside cover there, because the pieces that I had, I'm like, well, I'm not going to worry about cutting another sheet down because I had enough left over for that from that first one. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these pieces down on the back here, just like I did the front, a nice thin coat to spread across. There we go. And then once I lay it down, I'm going to use that little spatula, and I'm going to press and burnish that right on down into the cup. So the next thing I did is I had some of those extra pieces from my cover, and I folded it down a 1/4 inch on the top, bottom, and one side. And I'm going to make a pocket in the back side of my journal. Now, what I did was, once I got all the tape on there, you can see that one line there is perfect for the size tape that I have here. And I can just put 2 on the top and the bottom, giving some more security for that pocket. Now, when I put this in my book, looking at it now, I'm just going to tell you, it should have been put on the opposite side. I put it on the back corner. And I mean, it's fine for a pocket, but it's not going to stop stuff from falling out of your book. I should have put it on the outside of the back cover instead of on the inside. And you can see here where I'm going to put it. I put it on that inside, and it should have been put on the opposite side, so that when I hold my book, the stuff isn't going to slide out. And oh my goodness, that was silly of me. But there you have it. The pocket's in there. And now what I did is I took another little piece here, and I cut it and trimmed it off, and I created a little holder for a pencil or an ink pen.
There we have it. We are ready to get started on our Scripture Art Journal. Little place for a pen or a pencil, a bookmark, and each of the pages glued together to create a more stable place to put my artwork. Little pocket at the back as I build this up, and I'm ready to go. Guys, let me know what you think. Give this a shot. If you plan on giving this a shot, let me know. I'd love to see what you come up with, and I would love for you to join my journaling journey and step forward. So, guys, thank you so much for spending time with me today. Your time is precious. I know it, and I appreciate you spending time with me. If you've not subscribed to my channel, I hope you will do so by hitting that subscribe button. Hit that bell notification, and YouTube should notify you when my next video has gone live. As always, stay safe, God bless, and bye for now.